If you want to design a better website, save money, and save time, you have to watch this video. My name is Hogan, and in this video, I want to share with you all my web design resources that I use for my WordPress website projects. So I have to be very honest, I've created a lot of videos on my channel, on my tutorials, on how to create a WordPress website, and a lot of people follow them, and the end result of the website doesn't look very good. It's very, very ugly, and I don't know what it is. It might be because of not knowing what to use and how to use it. So in this video, I just wanted to share with you guys everything that I use and how I use it across my websites. So hopefully you guys can implement it for your own websites and yeah, save you some time and save you some money. So we're going to get straight into it. Please give the video a big thumbs up, really helps me out. Thank you. Okay, so what I've done is basically categorized all the tools and resources into 5 different categories. So the first category is your design resources and tools, and the second one is colors and fonts. Third is going to be your assets. Fourth is image editing, and fifth is optimization. Okay, so I'll also show you some bonus ones that you might find useful at the end of the video as well. So we're going to start off with the design resources, right? So before building a website on WordPress or any other platform, what I recommend is designing a website first. Okay, so imagine your website sort of like a house, and if you're building it your dream house, you don't sort of just design and build at the same time. Normally you have your architect and they design the house, and then they pass the designs to the builder and they just follow the designs. Okay, so the reason why you're probably not going to design a good website on your first go is because you haven't designed it, right? You've skipped straight onto WordPress and maybe you've imported a template or you're following a tutorial. You're normally doing 2 things at the same time, and sometimes that can be quite challenging. So what I recommend is to design first, and to design first, you want to look at inspiration. Okay, so even if you're a professional, you do want your clients or whatever to send you websites that they like, and also their competitors' websites, so that you can create a website that they like. Okay, another good resource is collectui.com, right? So you can check out all the designs from like Dribbble and Behance, and it's essentially put into one area where you can navigate to the different things that you want to create. So for example, if you want to create like a sign up page, then you can click on sign up and you can save it as inspiration, right? So you can click into it. So what I use this with is another tool called Millernote, and essentially I use it to just organize my thoughts, and that helps me sort of stay organized and not procrastinate, because if you have so many things on your mind, then it's very easy to just get overwhelmed, right? So you can sign up for free and log in. And once you've done that, you also want to download the Millernote Chrome extension, and that's going to help you sort of save these designs that you find on the internet. So once you've downloaded the Chrome extension, you can right click and save to Millernote, and you can save it to your board. All right, so we can look through the designs, and let's say maybe let's click on checkout over here, and let's say you like this checkout over here as well. Click into it. Right, you can also navigate to their Dribbble page as well. But I'm just going to save it to Millernote just like that. Save it to your board. All right, and maybe I like this one over here as well. Click into that and save that to Millernote. Okay, so once you've saved it, it's automatically going to sync right to your board. And let's zoom in a little bit. So let's drag it onto our board just like that. Drag it over here. And then we can also expand it a little bit like that. And then you can also add in your notes, right? So you might have notes about it, and you might have some client notes about it as well. You can also add in a to-do list, which is really helpful. And you can also add arrows, different colors, and different things like that, right? It's super easy to use, and you can also invite your team or share it with your clients so they can drag in different things they like. And I think even for other projects, it's really helpful as well. Okay, so make sure you get Millernote. And once you've done that, then you want to design your website. So to design your website, you want to use Adobe XD, right? In my opinion, it's like the most simplest sort of design software out there, and it's completely free. And it's by Adobe, but don't be like scared, because Photoshop sometimes, even for a beginner, can be quite hard. This is a lot easier than Photoshop, right? So you can download it for free, and once you have actually installed it, it looks something like this, right? So I don't have a tutorial on it yet. But if you do want to see a video, then maybe leave it in the description below. But there are some really good tutorials on Adobe XD on YouTube at the moment, so make sure to watch it and they'll also talk about some sort of design techniques and principles as well, which is really going to help you with your design. But what I really like about it best is the ability to have the snap graphics, right? So it snaps into place and helps you align everything. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes that most beginners make when they're building a WordPress website is that things aren't aligned, and also the spacing in between the elements, they're not even, right? Sometimes it's like too close, sometimes it's too far. With this, you can actually see the distance, for example, 40 pixels and 40 pixels, and then it looks very good, right? And then it's aligned as well, okay? So once you've designed your website and you're copying the design onto your WordPress website, then you're naturally gonna ensure that it's gonna align on your WordPress website, right? So that's gonna help a lot. And also it's just super simple to use. Everything's drag and drop. And you can also just drag in the pictures as well. Like let's say, for example, I'll drag in the profile picture just like that. So it's really simple. You don't have to crop your images. You can double click and arrange it just like that. As you can see, it's like so easy to use. So I highly recommend it. And after, once you finish the design, then you can click on prototype, and you can also link the links to your different pages as well. So for example, I've linked the about, right, to the about page, linked the services to the services page, right? So I can also click on, let's say if I want to link the logo, okay, back to the home page, just like that. And I want to link this one. Okay, can't click it because I locked it. Anyways, don't worry about it. So we can click on the play button over here. All right, so I'm going to minimize it a little bit. Okay, so here you have the whole design, just like that. And then let's say we click on about, it's going to link to your about page, right? So it's really awesome. And once we click on logo, it's going to link back. And once you've done the prototyping for all your links and stuff like that, you can click on share, and then you can generate a link and share it with your client, right? So instead of building and designing on WordPress, you can do the design over here, share it with your client, see what they like and don't like, and then you can adjust it really easily and simply here. The best thing about it is just super quick. There's like no loading time, and everything is just really easy. So you want to make sure you use those 3 resources to design your website first, and then I'll move on to the next category. All right, so the next category of resources and tools is the fonts and also our colors. So we're going to talk about choosing colors right now and the tools that I use. So choosing colors is really important before you start building, because your colors are going to help your brand differentiate yourself from competitors. It's also going to attract a certain demographic, and also it might evoke a certain emotion, right, that you want to portray for your brand. So what you want to do is you want to look at color psychology, and you can use it as a guide to choose your colors. And then you can go to a website called color.adobe.com. So it's another Adobe product, right? And you can use the color harmony rules over here, and you can use this and drag it, and it's going to help you select a really nice color palette. So all the colors here are going to blend in really nicely, okay? So it's really awesome. For example, you can click on monochromatic, and here it's going to change the colors like that, and then you can use it for your color palette. So what you can do is you can copy over the color code. So for example, this color code over here, and you can go back to Milano, right? And you can add in your color codes. So you don't have to save it on Adobe. You can save it here and use it for your projects. So drop in a note and just paste that in, and then click on enter, and that's going to generate your color palette, right? So for example, if you want this one over here, copy it and then add in another one, paste it in, and then over here, and just arrange it like that, right? So when you're building a website, then you can take the color code and use it for your website, and also for like your marketing materials. Like let's say if you're creating like a YouTube channel page or whatever it is, then you can use the same color, right? And that helps your whole entire brand be very cohesive, right? Now, the next thing I really like about the Adobe Color is you can click on extract theme, right? And you can drag and drop in an image that you like. So for example, I like this image over here, then it's going to take the colors and pull that in from that image, and you can use that for your website, right? So you can also select the different moods as well. For example, let's say like muted or like bright, right? I like colorful. So here you can go back to the color wheel, and then you can copy over the color codes like that, right? So if we go to this website over here, Then as you can see, I've applied it over here for the button, and then over here you can drag it down. Okay, scroll down over here. I've also applied it for the title here as well as the icons, right? So I applied it like that. Now everything looks very good. So that's what you want to do in terms of adding color to your website. It doesn't have to be like a lot of the color, but you can just add it into subtle places. Okay, so you can also go back over here to the website, right? And you can also click on extract gradient, right? And that's going to take the colors here and develop a gradient that you can put onto your WordPress website. So let's just say, for example, so what I want to do is I want to add something like this to separate my content on this page over here, right? So what I can do is I'm gonna select this and just move it down over here or something like that. And then I'm just gonna copy this one here, just select it, Control C, and just paste it into here, just like that, right? But I want to add a gradient. So what I'm gonna do is I want to choose a gradient that matches well with this image over here. So you can go back over here and we can replace the image, right? And then we can find the image. So for example, this one over here, click on open. All right, and that's gonna find the colors. So I'm gonna change it to 2, like that. And then, you know, that's a pretty good color. So maybe I might do something like that. Okay, so you don't want something like this, probably, it's gonna be ugly. Maybe something like that's pretty nice. Okay, then we can take the color here, go back over here, Adobe, and we can click on the fill, paste the color code, hit an enter. Oops, I forgot to select linear gradient. All right, so I meant to put that in first. Okay, and then the next bit is go back over here, copy that color code, come back here, and then let's select this one, the last dot, paste it in, just like that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I might drop the opacity down a little bit as well, make it a little bit lighter. And then also here, let's drop the opacity down a tad as well. Okay, so as you can see, now it adds some sort of more depth to that, that separation, right? Instead of just being like gray, it's taken some of the colors from up here and we've implemented for the gradient. So now if we click on the play icon here, I'm just gonna resize it a little bit. I don't know why it's like so big all the ways. So we scroll down over here, scroll down, and as you can see, it's very nice and subtle, right? And everything blends in really nicely. Okay, so that's how you can use the Adobe Color for your website. So choosing the right font for your website is also really important because each font has a different personality, right? So I've mentioned basically the 2 different typefaces in my older videos, but I know a lot of people who are following, you might have not watched those. So I do want to go over it again, right? So there's basically 2 main typefaces. One is the sans serif and one is the serif. The sans serif, as you can see, the edges is plain and the strokes are even width. So this is going to appear a lot more simple, clean, and modern, and it's going to be showing on most of the websites that you visit. So even on the interface of your computer, it's mostly going to be sans serif, right? But then you've got the serif typeface, and that's got the curves and the thick and thin strokes. So this one looks a lot more traditional, elegant, and it's got a handcrafted look, right? So first of all, you should understand that, and then you should choose your font accordingly, right? So when you're choosing a font, let's say Tiffany & Co. So as you can see, they want to appear elegant, but also modern. They've got the serif typeface for the title and also the sans serif for the body text, right? If I think they use the serif typeface for the body, then I think it's just a little bit too much. They also want to maintain sort of this simple vibe as well. And let's say if you like what you see on Tiffany & Co., like their font, then you can download a Chrome extension called Whatfont. Right, so install that onto your browser and you can hover over the text and it's going to tell you what font they're using. So you can write that down on a piece of paper and then you can Google it. Most of the time you can find that font on myfonts.com. So let's just say, for example, the Santrel, okay, and click on enter. So here you can download the Santrel font and use it onto your WordPress website. Okay, so here they have different styles. So as you can see, it's quite expensive. But there are also these free options here, which you can just download if you just have an account with them. But generally what you want is probably like a regular style, and as well as probably like a bold style for your headings, right? If you just want to use one font. Okay, so if you want to use like a completely free font, which most of the WordPress builders and themes have, they use the Google fonts, right? And with the Google fonts, what you can do is you can select the categories, right? So here we can deselect these ones here. Generally, we're gonna use these two for our website. Sometimes you can use display and handwriting and other typefaces for your website, but generally that's probably like for like the banner, for maybe specific parts of your website. Maybe it might be like a sale thing or whatever it is. Okay, so generally you'll stick to these ones for like the body and the title. Okay, so you can select these and then you can select the most popular ones. And as you can see, these are the most popular ones. So you can choose any of these and these will be good, right? These are good because mainly because they have different styles. So if you click into it, then they've got the thin style as well as the regular as well as bold style. So you can just use one font family for your website. Like you can use the bold font family for the title, and then for your subheading you can use the regular one. And if you want like a very specific sort of things, you can use the thin version, right? And you can just stick to one font. A lot of people just use like too many fonts, which I don't really recommend. Probably the maximum I'd use is 2. So maybe like a different title and then maybe a different body, right? Or just stick to one. Okay, so that is pretty much it for your fonts. So when it comes to the assets of your website, in particular the images, this is a really, really important thing that you need to get right, because if people come to your website and your image is low quality, it's not relevant, then they're just going to leave your website. So obviously the first option that I recommend is if you have access to a photographer or you're good at taking photos, then I would use my own photos, right? So the next best option is I would start with unsplash.com. So this is a free resource, which is really, really good. But if you're building like a more specific type of business, you may need to look at some paid options, right? So this is another free one as well, pexels.com. So if you can't find sort of more specific images, for example, if you're building like a local website like a mechanic, then you'll find some better images and more selection over here that you can use for like a hero image, for example, this one on the right here, or maybe something like this, which is good. But if you're doing like a mechanic and you're searching over here, you might not find the right one, right? Because this one just, like the style of the image is not suitable for maybe like a local mechanic website, right? So you might be able to use these images for maybe social media, but for your website, yeah, probably not, right? So you do want to check out these ones, the paid options, because it's going to save you a lot of time, and you're able to just upload the image and maybe just like add like a gradient overlay over it and use it as a hero image instantly. You don't have to sort of manipulate it and things like that, and it's going to save you a ton of time. So recently what I realized was I took a photo like a few years ago of a teacup, and I got my sister to edit it, to upload it onto Unsplash. I think she was just learning like how to edit stuff, and she uploaded it, and I think it got over like 1 million views and thousands of downloads. So what I realized is, like, if you're an e-commerce company, then you can actually create an account here. And for example, this company over here, they've uploaded their products as images, right? So people can download these images and use it on their website. So this is going to build brand for the honest company, right? So if you click on info over here, you'll see how many views it's gotten over the lifetime, as well as the downloads. So 22,000, you know, that's really, really good, because think about it, right? If 22,000 people have downloaded it, and let's just say, you know, 10,000 used it on their website, and on their website, right, thousands of people might visit those websites, right? So that's going to build really good brand for your business. So if you're an e-commerce company, so this is something that you might want to think about to sort of build up your brand instead of just like uploading to Instagram and social media. This is also a really great way to do it. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is the icons as well as the illustrations for your website, because sometimes you need those things to sort of support your text, right, without adding too many images on your website. So icons and illustrations are also a really important part of your website. For example, if you have like a featured section, like to describe all your benefits, you need icons to sort of support your text, right? But by default, a lot of WordPress themes and builders have their own sort of icons, and you can use that. But in my opinion, it's a little bit overused because everyone's using the same icons, right? So it's a little bit generic. So what I do recommend is getting custom icons done for your website. So for example, if you look at Uber, they have their own icons and it's very, very consistent and nice, as well as using their own illustrations, right? So that sort of enhances the design of their website and makes it more professional as well. So the places where you can get icons from is flaticon.com. So here they've got like icon packs, and essentially if you click into it, you'll have all the icons which are similar style and similar colors, and it will go really well with your website. So if you're like an accountant, or maybe you can type in like business, then there are different packs as well, like business packs and things like that. So a lot of these ones, you might have to pay for them. Otherwise you'll need to credit the author on the website. So you can get your icons from flaticon.com. Alternatively, you can go to fiverr.com and get custom icons done. So you can hire people to design like your logos, your icons, anything that you really want for anything on fiverr.com. So starting from $5, I recently got my icons redone on my website. So I did my website like 6 years ago and I haven't updated the icons until now. So I personally think it just adds, enhances the design a little bit and makes it look more professional and consistent. So that's really good. And you can also use a website called undraw.co. So depending on the style of your website, like if it's like a minimal type of website, you can use these illustrations. So go to undraw.co and then click on browse now. And here you've got, thousands of different sort of illustrations which you can use. All right, so it's really, really cool. And the best thing about it is that you can change the color scheme to match your color palette color. So for example, if I want this orange over here, then I can just copy the code. Okay, click over here on the top and then paste that code in, and that changes the color for all my illustrations. So it's going to be ready to upload onto your website directly, and it's just really good, right? So if you want to download it and use it on your website, what you'll need to do is you'll need to click on it and download the SVG file onto your computer, right? So download that onto your computer. Then you'll need to go to a website called SVG to PNG.com, right? To convert it into a PNG file, which is like a transparent file, so that when you upload it onto your website, it is a transparent file and it doesn't have like this sort of white background, which you don't want, right? So just upload it here and it'll convert it, and then you can download it, and then you can easily upload it onto your WordPress website. Okay, so another tip is that on Fiverr, you can also hire people to, do your product photography, product renderings as well. So you could do like product renderings, right? And search for that. And product renderings is like a render which is done on the computer. And essentially what you can use it for is like, instead of getting product photography done, you can get renders done, right? And then renders, you can use it for your website. For example, if you have like a product page, you can use the renders. You can also use the renders for like all sorts of things, right? So you can just change the background and put them in sort of different environments and things like that. So I think that's really, really useful as well. Okay, so you can also order like product demonstrations and a lot of stuff on Fiverr. So I'll leave all the links and stuff down below so you can check those out. So when it comes to editing images and photos or even icons and things like that, if you have access to like Photoshop and Illustrator, you probably don't need to know this section here. But if you don't, then these are the tools that I highly recommend and that I use as well. So I use photo.com to just crop images, because sometimes if you download your images from Unsplash or Adobe, they might be too big to upload onto your WordPress website, right? And if it's too big, then it's gonna load really slowly for your website. So generally for, let's say like a hero image, so we just drop in one from my desktop here. So for a hero image, I'll probably go for anywhere around, I think 1600 times about 900 pixels in height, up to like 1900 times about 1200 pixels in height, right? So let's just say we want to crop it. Then what we could do is just click on resize here, and here make sure the lock is selected. set it to, let's say 1600 and click on apply. Right, so as you can see, the height is still 1000, so you can keep it like that if you want, but sometimes the hero image doesn't need to be that tall, right? So you can go to crop here, and here we can just select it to like, and put in 900, okay, something like that, and you can drag it to where you see fit. Click on apply, and you can also make some adjustments as well, like for example, you can click on the basic here, and you can adjust the brightness, saturation. You can also add some blur effects to the background as well as add in text if you need to, right? So generally, I don't add text on it though for like a hero image. You might want to if you're adding it for like a general sort of image on your website. Okay, so if you're uploading like an image for your blog post featured image, I would probably go half this size. So probably, let's say you're doing maybe 800. Okay, something like that, if it was like a blog post featured image, and you want to make sure that, you know, they're all consistent size, like the same size, so that way when you upload it, you know, there's no issue in terms of like the resizing of the image, like it all is high quality, and the height is all the same, because sometimes when you upload it onto WordPress, the height is a little bit different, and then that just makes your website ugly. Okay, so you can also use another tool called Clipping Magic. So if you have like a profile picture and you want to remove the background, then this is like the perfect tool for it. Okay, so here you can also use it for like product photography as well, which is super cool. So this is a lot easier to use than Photoshop because it uses like AI to help you sort of crop it out. Okay, so I think this one with the Pro version, I think it does have the Magic Clipper built in as well, but I don't use the Pro version here. I just use it for this one over here, okay? And the same thing for Canva. So Canva is a really great resource if you want to design anything for your website, for like, for example, like the blog post featured image, or even like YouTube thumbnails, like Facebook covers, anything that you need for your website, like you can use Canva, right? So it's an amazing resource, and I recently just created my YouTube thumbnails using Canva as well. It's just super easy to use. So I highly recommend it. And if you want something closer to like Photoshop, then I would go with pixlr.com, right? So you can go and click on Advanced Pixlr E. Okay, so for example, if you want to edit the SVG file, you can click into it, and you can edit the colors of it, but you can't really edit the layers of the sort of the drawing. Okay, so you only can do that in like Illustrator. I think there's some other tool online as well, which can sort of help you edit the layers within that as well. All right, so I think that is pretty much it when it comes to image editing. And then I'm going to move on to optimization. So I just wanted to share with you some of the resources that I use, for example, checking the website speed, as well as optimizing and tools to make sure that the website's mobile friendly. Right, so what I do recommend is checking the speed of your website, because you want to make sure your website loads quickly for your main audience. So you can go to a website called tools.pingdom.com, or you can just Google Pingdom speed test. All right, so you can plug in your URL here and then set it to the location which you want to test it. So for example, you want to test it at the location where your main audience is from, right? Because you don't want your website to load slow for your main audience, right? So test it, okay? And then what I do recommend is trying to keep the page size lower. So you want to make sure that your images on your website is optimized. It's not too big. That's why we cropped it before, but I'm going to show you another tool to ensure that the size of the image is smaller as well. And for the load time, I would stay between, I think 2 to 3 seconds is pretty good for your load times. Now, you want to try and keep it below that. If it's too high, then people will click off your website. All right, so some of the factors that also affect it is where your website's hosted. So most of the times your website might be hosted in the United States, and if your main audience is, let's say, in Australia, then it's going to load a little bit slower because it takes longer for the data to travel there. If that's the case, then either you can get like a CDN, like a content delivery network. So you can set that up for your website, and basically what that means is the CDN network is going to store your information at a location which is closer to your audience, right? So it's going to deliver the data quicker to your audience. That's one of the ways that you can do it. You can also download like a caching plugin for WordPress. And also you probably want to make sure that like your plugins and also your themes are optimized, and probably delete like the plugins that you're not using and things like that, okay, to speed it up. And that is pretty much it. So to actually optimize your images, you can use a tool called compressor.io. Okay, so for example, the image that we've cropped before, we can just click on try it, and then I'm going to drop that in. Okay, so as you can see, it's about 327 kilobytes. Now it's about 200. That's 39% reduction. Okay, so if you have a lot more images on your website, then it's gonna help save a lot of the page size. Okay, so that's gonna help you load a lot quicker. And then you also want to use Responsinator to ensure that your website's responsive for all devices. Okay, so here it will show you sort of the different sizes of people's mobile devices and also tablets. So you want to ensure that your website's good for all devices. Okay, so you can use this tool. You can also use the Chrome tools if you're using Chrome. So for example, let's say we can just right click it, and then we can click on inspect, and then we can select this thing over here. Okay, so click on that, and then here we can select the device and things like that to see what it sort of looks like. All right, so now I want to show you some other tools which I think you might find useful as well. So some other tools that I do want to mention is 0 to 255. So what I use this for is sometimes I need a button hover color, and generally when you hover over buttons, like you'll notice that either goes lighter or darker, and you can randomly choose it, I guess, but sometimes I just like to put in the color code and then just get something that's very, very exact. I don't know what it is, but like let's just say for example, you got a dark gray here, right? So that's the original color. Right, so that's the original color of your button. Then you can either hover it, 2 shades lighter or 2 shades darker. That way people know it's a button, right? So sometimes you might have like a different color. So let's just say, for example, we take this color over here, right? And you've got a orange button somewhere on your website. So we just paste that in, right? Click on next. So you do want to change that to maybe something a little bit darker. So maybe something like this, or even lighter, so people know that's a button, right? So that's what I use this for. And sometimes I also use it for, let's say we're building a website, and for example, this section over here, I want to change this color to, let's say, the orange color, right? But then somewhere down here, I might not want to use this same orange, but I still want to stick to the sort of color palette, right? So what you can do is you can take the color code, right? And then you can go back to the website over here, and then you can use a shade of that original color, right? So that way it still keeps things consistent in terms of the color scheme. You're not introducing like a completely new color. So for example, let's say something like this. We can just paste that in, and it's still sort of like the color scheme. Like if you use like the same color, then it just doesn't look as good, right? So that's what you can use it for. Okay, so now the next tool that I like is also this one over here. I don't use it too much, but you might find it useful. So for example, you've probably seen some websites where you've got an image inside a laptop, and essentially what you need to do is just upload the screenshot of it, and then it will place it in here for you, and then you can download it, right? I think for a few dollars, then you can download it onto your computer, and then you can use it, right? So another tool that I like is also Freepik, right? So it's got a range of different sort of graphics as well as photos and icons, which you can use as well, right? So this is another great resource, and you probably need to pay for the premium membership, otherwise you'll need to credit the authors again. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it for this video of the website resources that I use for my WordPress website. So if you're using like other resources that you think other viewers might find useful, then drop it in the comment section down below, and I'll try and add it into the YouTube description so everyone can go and check it out. Now that is pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe for more videos and like this video. Thank you.